Hello and welcome fellow Kerbonauts to another Kerbal Space Program 2 video. Today I'm going to be talking about the Su-47 Berkut. I hope I didn't butcher that. If I did, I'm sorry. There was only one ever built, and it took its first flight on the 25th of September 1997 when I was only 5 years old. And as you can imagine, as a young boy who loves planes, the unusual design has always stuck to me. To 5-year-old me, it was like looking at a spaceship. It was something from the future. It was crazy and it was cool. And I do still think it is pretty cool as well. The slick wings have definitely influenced some of the planes and space shuttles and stuff I've made in KSP over the years. So a little bit of history of this aircraft is it was designed by a person named Mikhail Pogosyan. The Russian jet also went by S-32 and S-37 during development, and it pretty much just served as a technology demonstrator. It was never intended for mass production, and to cut costs they decided to use a bit of the Su-27 flanker. They used the landing gear, the forward fuselage and the vertical stabilizers from the Su-27. From what I can find as well, it was last seen in a Moscow air show in 2019. I don't think it's flown since then, or it hasn't been seen flying since then that I can find. I was quite surprised to find that out as well, because I thought it had already been a museum piece like years ago, but it turns out it's actually been flying somewhat recently, I guess. Now, to go into a bit of the specifications about this, it was a crew of one, a length of 22.6 meters, a wingspan of 16.7 meters, and a height of 6.4 meters. Its gross weight was 25,600 kilos, and max takeoff weight of 34,000 kilos. The plane had a maximum speed of Mach 2.2 at altitude and Mach 1.1 at sea level, and a range of 3,300 kilometers or 1,800 nautical miles. Service ceiling at 18,000 meters, 59,000 feet, and a rate of climb of 233 meters per second. Some of the technology that the aircraft was demonstrating range from radar systems, composite materials, fly-by-wire systems, advanced weapon systems, and even prototype weapons, which is probably what you'd normally find on a demonstrator. And as you can see here, the aircraft had asymmetric booms at the back, and the one on the left had the ECM, or the electronic countermeasures systems, and the one on the right had the rear-facing radar, or another form of ECM, depending on which source you look at. In between the two booms, it has two Soloviev D30 F6 afterburning turbofan engines producing a maximum of 34,000 pounds of thrust each. To aid in manoeuvrability, these engines also had thrust vectoring, which is pretty cool. Some interesting things about the D30 engine as well is it was originally designed to power the Tupolev Tu-134 airliner, which eventually evolved into engines also powering what you see today, the Su-47, the MiG-31 and even the Ilyushin 76. That's just to name a few of the engines. Like, the engines powered quite a lot of things. That's just a few of the aircraft that it did power. It even had a Chinese copy as well, the WS-18. Some speculate that it was actually reverse engineered. I don't know if it was just bought or reverse engineered. It just says copy most places, so I'm guessing so. But that's a bit of speculation, not fact, so take from that whatever. So now it's time to talk a little bit about the forward swept wings. There have only been a few aircraft featuring forward swept wings over the years. The most notable being the Grumman X-29, the Su-47, the Junkers 287, and the HFB 320. I think forward swept wings can come with some good benefits, especially for fighter aircraft. It helps to increase agility at subsonic speeds, giving the ability to make tighter turns and like higher angles of attack, especially at lower speeds where the wing sweepers also provides reduced stall speeds, as well as great stall characteristics with the predictability in the way it handles when it stalls, and the amount of control as well when it stalls in such situations. If you've watched anything on the Grumman X-29, you've probably watched it demonstrating this on quite a few occasions. And the reason for this is the stall occurs at the wing root instead of the wingtip, unlike you would on a conventional plane. So instead of getting a wing over situation where one wing would stall before the other, so then your plane would immediately start rolling uncontrollably towards the side that stalled. And because the stall is at the root, the plane would pitch forwards instead, making it much more predictable. There's also the benefits of better lift to drag ratio, which can help with fuel economy as well. which of course would provide longer range and a longer mission duration in turn, making it just that little bit more effective at its job. Like everything in the world, there are also the drawbacks of having forward swept wings, and those drawbacks are primarily the reason you don't see them being used today. Still, the biggest drawback on it is the stress of the structure. Forward swept wings twist and bend more at the tips, and the twisting at the wingtips is quite a bit more than what you'd find on a straight wing or a conventionally swept wing. This makes the rest of the wing try to twist to a higher angle of attack, causing a lot more stress on the aircraft overall, which is obviously not good when you're trying to pull high G manoeuvres, but at the same time this aircraft was rated to go at 9G. One of the other drawbacks that this aircraft had was the fact that the swept wings on it also provided a higher radar cross-section. Although it had a higher radar cross-section, it still had some stealth characteristics about it, although it just wasn't quite a full-on stealth fighter like you'd find like the F-22, the F-35, things like that, or the Su-57. Some of the experimental technology that was used on this aircraft was used to help design and really research parts for the Su-57. Although it doesn't go into specifically what, as you can imagine, a lot of the technology that was used on this aircraft is still classified and still under wraps. The Su-47 did have 14 hardpoints though for air-to-air and air-to-ground missiles, and another interesting thing about the hardpoints were they were all external. There was no internal hardpoints on this plane, with 2 on the wingtips, 6 to 8 of them are on the underwing, and 4 to 6 of them are on the under fuselage, depending on what the configuration was or what the mission was. The ones on the underneath of the fuselage carried only air-to-ground missiles and bombs, and the ones on the underwing carried the air-to-air missiles, so it had quite a large payload. Some of the missiles and bombs that it had listed were the X-29T, the X-29L, the X-59M, the X-31P, the X-32A, and the KAB-500 and 1500. Probably carried quite a bit more, but again, a lot of the details are still under wraps. Although this fighter was a 4.5 gen fighter, it was there to primarily help research and development with bridging the gap between a 4.5 gen and getting to that 5th gen fighter, and it served that role pretty well, because like I said before, it did actually aid the development of the Su-57 Felon. The 47 also featured a triple tandem layout with the delta canards at the front, the forward swept wings in the middle, as well as the delta stabilizers at the back. Although not uncommon, these also aided in agility, manoeuvrability, and just the amount of control that the aircraft had in general. So you can see a lot of the Su-47 was designed specifically just to perform extremely well at manoeuvring. The thing that really made this plane stick to me, even the unusual design, was just the fact that it was a one-off. There was no mass production of it, and if you've seen it at air shows, you can consider yourself lucky really. I think to this day it still looks futuristic. It's a plane that I always think looks cool, to be honest. I do wonder sometimes how would it have performed if they put it into mass production. Would have the structural issues played a part or anything? What are your thoughts on this plane, and how do you think it would have fared up? Let me know in the comments below. I'm going to end this part of the video here, but coming up is the build, if you want to stick around for that. If not, thanks for watching anyway. Peace out, I hope to see you next time. Please like and subscribe if you did enjoy the video.